My name is Jeff Morgan. I'm from Dallas, Texas. This will be the final video in which I'll be talking about the American College of Pediatricians report on divorce in America. And in the last section here, I'll talk about very briefly the effect divorce has on parents and on society, and the conclusion which the American College of Pediatricians reached, which is a very opposite conclusion that the Texas Family Law Foundation and divorce attorneys will try to persuade you of. The effects on parents. The pediatricians say that married, and this would be both males and female people, are more likely to have better health than single or divorced parents. Married people smoke and drink less. Married men are less likely to commit suicide than men who are divorced or separated. Married individuals have the lowest incidence of diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. Again, all of these are supported by studies, not just by anecdotal things that the Texas Family Law Foundation will pull out of thin air or take out of context. Married men are more likely to live longer after a diagnosis of cancer, especially prostate cancer. Married men live longer than men who have never been married. And in the Framingham Offspring study, married men had a 46% lower rate of dying from cardiovascular disease than unmarried men. And this was a study done in 1987. Secondly, married male and female people are more likely to have higher incomes. Individuals who are married have greater wealth. Period. The longer they stay married, the greater the wealth accumulation. Men especially benefit as married men earn 22% more than single men. Women who face divorce face a 27% decrease in their standard of living. And the crazy thing is that in unilateral no-fault divorce, over 70% of these divorces are initiated by women. But don't worry, women, because you have the Attorney General of the state of Texas who will come to your aid and demand child support and alimony and everything else. You want a divorce for any reason or for no reason, and the state rewards you with child support and alimony, even though you may be the cause of the divorce. The state feels they've got to punish the man to help provide for the women and the children. What they should be doing is encouraging families to stay together and quit putting out incentives for divorce. Married women are more likely to be physically safer than divorced or separated women, and they are much less likely to experience intimate partner violence than divorced or separated women. Married individuals are more likely to be involved in their community. Married people have more civic responsibilities and are more likely to volunteer in service projects. Finally, divorce may have adverse long-term effects on the emotional well-being for parents. For example, in Judith Wallerstein study, this was the study of divorce, a 25-year study, she found that half of the women and one-third of the men were still very angry with their former spouses after the unilateral no-fault divorce took place. But unilateral no-fault divorce is supposed to reduce bitterness and anger and conflict. Judith Wallerstein found the opposite. By the way, Judith Wallerstein was originally a supporter of unilateral no-fault divorce. When she did her study, she came to the opposite conclusion and realized it was a disaster. And I would hope that the Texas legislature, both the House and the Senate, would realize the same thing, that this experiment with unilateral no-fault divorce is a disaster for our society, for our state. One-third of the women and one-fourth of the men felt that life was unfair and disappointing. Only in 10% of the divorces did both partners feel that they had achieved happier lives. One-fourth of the older divorced men remained isolated and lonely. And again, this is from Judith Wallerstein and her study on the results of the 25-year study of the unintended consequences of divorce. Effects on society. Divorce adversely affects society by diminishing the child's future competence, weakening the family structure, contributing to earlier sexual experimentation, and leading to increased costs for society. Adversely affecting religious practice. Divorce diminishes the frequency of religious worship, diminishing the child's learning capacity and educational attainment. So this says divorce actually creates a haves and have-nots scenario. Children of divorce tend to be the have-nots. Children of intact family tend to be the haves. Look at the family structure. A lot of the haves and the have-nots can be explained by family structure. Of course, the Texas Family Law Foundation and the divorce attorneys will not tell you that because they profit off of destroying your families. They don't want you to know that simple, basic fact. The effects of divorce reduces household income. With divorce comes increasing crime rates and substance use and associated societal and governmental costs. And again, this is all very well documented. Divorce also creates increasing risk for school suspensions, for binge drinking, marijuana use, other drug use, crime, imprisonment. When you get divorced, just think about this trajectory that you are now telling your children, you know, we want to believe that you're resilient, but we know that you're going to go on the slide in many instances, but we don't want to take blame for it. We're going to tell you how you should be doing better, even though we caused your problems. It also increases emotional and mental risks, including suicide. And they talk about the effect of divorce on the states. And this was one study done back in 2003. They estimated that it would be about $33 billion a year, with adolescent pregnancy costing at least $7 billion. There was a study done in 2008, 2009 that put that cost at $112 billion. Taxpayer cost for divorce. The conclusion of the American College of Pediatricians is this: there are clearly negative long-term consequences of divorce. Children, parents, and society all suffer. Wallerstein's long-term study shows that many children never have a full recovery, as each special event, holiday, or celebration reminds the child of his or her loss. Given these tremendous costs borne by all individuals affected by divorce, as well as the costs to society, it is the responsibility of physicians, especially pediatricians, who care for children in the context of their families, to advocate for public health policies that promote marriage and decrease the likelihood of divorce. If you are in the legislature in the state of Texas, if you are in the House or the Senate, if you are the governor of the state of Texas, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, the American College of Pediatricians says that given these tremendous costs borne by all individuals affected by divorce, as well as the cost to society, it is the responsibility of physicians, especially pediatricians, who care for children in the context of their families, to advocate for public health policies that promote marriage and decrease the likelihood of divorce. If you're a legislator, you have the same responsibility to advocate for public health policies and practices that promote marriage and decrease the likelihood of divorce. You have a responsibility to investigate the fallacious claims of the Texas Family Law Foundation, whom the president herself said she is most proud of her role as a lobbyist for the Texas Family Bar. A lobbyist lobbies for the financial interests of the clients he or she represents. This lobbyist for the Texas Family Bar, for the Texas divorce attorneys, is out there wanting more divorce, wanting easier divorce, wanting faster divorce, wanting to guarantee everybody access to divorce, wanting to pretend that this stuff does not affect children, it does not affect parents. Everybody's resilient. Children are resilient. You have a responsibility to investigate the truth behind their nonsense, call them out on it, and you also have a responsibility to enact public legislation that would help promote marriage and decrease the likelihood of divorce. Thank you.